Hi guys, Mr. Rees's Art Club. We thought we'd do something relating to cartoons, cartoon characters, and here you can see a number of different characters that we've already pre-drawn. And I'll be honest with you, I've got the wife and my daughters to have a go as well. So we've got Snoopy, we've got Tweety Bird, well actually Tweety Pie, I know him as. We've got Dennis the Menace, we've got Sonic the Hedgehog, we've got Peppa Pig, we've got Gruffalo, so we did him last year actually. Look, when we were doing illustrations we used Gruffalo. We've got SpongeBob here. What's that? Jigglypuff, and obviously that is Scooby-Doo. So we've got a couple of characters. We've practiced drawing them, and I thought we'd try and get you to do some drawing. So one of the things I wanted to try and point out was to try and actually simplify the drawing that you're going to do. So I'm just going to look at this one here. We've got a picture here of a bear. Okay, there's the bear. And whatever it is, I mean, it could be Snoopy, it could be Tweety Pie, it could be any of these characters. But this is probably a really simple one. And maybe this is a good one to work with, to start with, to have a go at. And I've got my paper ready. I've got my cartoon characters, which I've just knocked that up. I've got my pencil. I printed out a picture here to work from, and now I'm going to go for it. So what I'm going to do is try and just simplify it. So here we go. I've got a 2B pencil. Look, I'm not even actually drawing. I'm just getting the feel of it. And it's not going to be perfect. It isn't going to be perfect. Look at that. There's a ghost line. Look, you can hardly see it. So, and then I'm just looking at the arms here, and I'm looking at the simple shapes of these arms. So I'm not immediately pressing hard and trying to get the detail. I'm just keeping it simple. I'm trying to find simple shapes. And look at that. I'm doing it again there. And I'm overlapping them. I'm not reaching for my rubber. Who cares? We're going to be working over this, and you can apply colour into it. So let's just go for it. And if it changes a little bit, that's great. Who knows? You may have even invented your own new character out of this. Okay, so we've got the ears going on there. So that's another couple of circles, like so. Really, really simple. And then we've got the main body. Well, I'm looking at the main body shape there. I mean, that could be another, the whole thing could be like another big circle like there. Again, don't press very hard. Do it like a ghost line, very, very faint. So let's just pop the legs on here as well. So here we go. I'm just looking at this as a shape. Imagine if I could keep that going continuously. That's what I'm doing here. And then I'll just add another one there, like that. Not Peter Perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. I like things to have character. So then we've got the face, which is just a circle there. That's pretty straightforward. We've got the two eyes there. 1, 2. So that's what I've got. That's my inspiration from this. Okay. I could say I'm tempted already to start putting in a bit more detail. There's the nose, and that's coming in there. So all of a sudden now I've got my ghost line. I'm going to start joining things up and making things a little bit more detailed. So I'm going to do a little bit of this. This is actually quite wobbly, isn't it? So here we go. I'm just working to that line. Okay, so in other words, what I've done is effectively I've given myself a bit of a guideline, and that's actually really useful. So if I went straight in with this hard line to start with, I'd probably mess it up quite a lot. But all of a sudden, I've got something to work to. It's not going to be Peter Perfect. It could change. It doesn't matter. I've got my guideline. You can still see the ghost lines showing through there. Let's just work it down here. All the way around. Got that bit on there. That bit there. Joining onto another leg. Working our way around like that. Wibbly wobbly. Yeah, and then that's his foot. He's got a foot on there. Oh yeah, and we've got this circle bit in the middle. I should have done that lightly as well, but there you go. Let's press a bit harder. Don't go reaching for the rubber. Try to give up the rubber if you can. Get yourself a rubber patch and try and give up the rubber. Because remember, drawing and painting is all about layers. So you just work over the top. Look at that, I've made a mistake there, but I'm just going to leave it in. Don't care. Just why not? I'm just having a bit of fun. So I'm going to big that up a little bit more. Down he comes like that. So there we go. There's my bear based on that one. So simple shapes, breaking it down. So it could be, I mean, you could do the same with Snoopy. You know, this could be one shape here, almost rugby ball shape, and add this little bit on, overlap it like I did with the bear. And the same with this bit. This could be a thin bit coming down and then a more bulbous bit on the bottom. So just break everything down into simple shapes and do ghost lines. Because then when you go over them and press harder, you know, they actually sort of, you know, they disappear. So don't worry about it. So now what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to think about putting some colour in. Now, I've had another thought. As I'm doing this, I'm having more thoughts. I will put some colour into this, but before I do, I could, if I had a bit of tracing paper. Oh, I found myself a bit of tracing paper. Here it is, just a bit of thin tracing. If you can get hold of one of those, that'd be brilliant. So all I'm going to do, let me just see, I'm just working off the top of my head a little bit here, just see how this goes. And there we go, I've got the arm. I've just traced that bit of the arm. And what I could do is start to move the arm like that. Now, funny enough, this reminds me of another little project that, oh, that won't print, of another little project I used to do called Futurism. So basically, you've got the arm and you want the arms to go up and down, so you move it a little bit at a time. And you move it again and you move it again. All of a sudden, it would look like that arm's going up and down. So let's just try that. Just give me a second. Okay, I'm going to put, I've just turned this over, right? That was the original way round, like that. I'm now going to turn it over and I'm going to do a bit of a rubbing on the back. I'm going to put a bit of graphite over the top of this. Okay, and then the idea is that a little bit later on, I am going to press over the line again. And hopefully, if I've got enough graphite underneath here, and I apply enough pressure, then I will get, look at that, funny enough, I've got a ghost line there, isn't that funny? So there we go, there's the original line, okay, of the teddy bear's left arm, right? So if I'm going to move it like that, now all I've got to do is press hard over that line, and hopefully I will get myself, I'm trying to come round behind me, if I press hard enough, it will hopefully print through and it will be just a ghost line, and that's okay because then we can go over it again. Oh, mess that up a bit there. There we go. And there you can see I've got my ghost line. So, ooh, let me just see. Maybe I'll just go over that and make that stand out. Okay. Okay guys, I've got my cheap paints, my tempera paints out again. I just thought, right, let's pop a bit of colour in there. So I'm mixing a yellow. I'm going to make them slightly orangey brown. So then we're going to go straight into the red there. And look at that, I'm making a bit of a mess, but hey ho. Because red and yellow makes orange. Now, if I add a bit of green, so I'm going to take a little bit of green from here, all of a sudden it's starting to go a little bit brown, and I just need a tiny bit of water in the mix. Let's just see how that goes. So let's try that. Now the key thing is, if you get the consistency right, the mixture right, so i.e. not too wet, not too dry, it does go on quite smooth and you can keep the bristles on the surface. Now that, if you look at that, you see when I pull it, it thins out too much. That means it's too dry. So I'm just going to add a little bit more water into the mix and see if I can improve that. Okay, so here we go. Again, I think that is still a little bit too dry, Mr. Rees. Okay, so keeping the bristles on the surface. And of course afterwards, you could go around this in a fine liner if you wanted to. let's just see if I can develop it a little bit more, because I'm having a bit of fun here. That's gone a little bit green there, but I don't mind that. That's cool, because you can actually mix the paints on the surface. So here we go. Bit of red, bit of green. Red and green actually makes brown. Red and green makes brown. Okay. So he's starting to take shape. He's got a bit of colour coming in. It's always a good idea just to start with a really simple shape. Okay, so this bear is probably one of the simpler shapes that you could do. So try and hold on to the ferrule, that's this metal bit. Don't be holding it like this or holding the brush miles away. Hold the ferrule like that. Now, I'm going to do a bit of fast forward photography, and we'll do a little bit more of this, and we'll get back to you in a second. Cheers. Okay guys, once you've got a bit of paint in there, this is still drying a little bit, but this tempera paint takes 2 or 3 minutes to dry max, and then look, get a permanent marker, and literally you could start to go around it, and it will just tidy things up a little bit. I can still feel the wet bits on my other hand actually, but I just want to give you a way of working perhaps a little bit quicker, so that you don't get totally bored. But you can put as much or as little time into this as you like. Now, obviously, we are dealing with a simple bear. We're just making this really simple to start with. So we're not trying to be too clever and start drawing Daffy Ducks and was it Sonic the Hedgehog or Tweety Pie, or I mean, God, Dennis the Menace looks a bit difficult to do. But again, if you break them down into simple shapes, like I showed you with the ghost line, then you can get somewhere. So see if you can come up with some characters. Now, the best thing to do, we find, is literally to go online, and there's loads of stuff on cartoons and Disney stuff. There's loads of it. So just go in and have a look. Just literally Google it and have a look and see what you can come up with. And if you're fortunate enough to have a printer, then print some of this stuff off, and that should make life a little bit easier for you if you can do that. Otherwise, just work off your tablet or whatever you've got to hand that you can work from. Get an image up and start cracking on. So, colour that bit in as well. I think the permanent marker's running out as well. That doesn't help. So there we go. I've had a little bit of fun. There's my little teddy bear. Oh yeah, his muzzle. I've got that bit to put in. I'll just knock that out real quick there. There we go. Okay, so there he is. Now, I mean, where do we go from here? So practice this one first. See how well you get on with that, and then you can start putting, a little bit more detail in. I've actually got his hands waving there, as you can see, multiple hands repeating the hands. So this sort of blurring and this kind of movement gives the sensation that his hand is moving. And if you really want to get into it, you could make a little flick book. So you could get some pages. Ideally, you would need card and a bit of tracing paper, and you could do this sort of thing on a smaller scale, and you could do a flick book. Maybe the little sticky pads as well. I think I've got one here somewhere. I'll just show you this. I'm not going to actually do one. It's just an idea. Little flick book here. And look, those are great for doing flick books. Again, go onto YouTube and look at flick books. There's guys that just specialise in these and make them every day, all day, and they get really good at it. So here we've got a little drawing of a bear that my daughter's done actually. You can see how she's really simplified each stage. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a photograph of this, and you can break it down and look at it in your own time and see if you can create this teddy bear. So here is a painting by Giacomo Balla, and he belongs to the Futurist movement. Some of the children will know about Futurism because I've done it before, but basically here you can see the similarity between the bear's arm moving up and down and this painting, which was done around about 1900, and it's called Dog on a Leash. See all the little legs being repeated and the tail wagging and the chain going round and round, and his owner's feet here, you can see her wearing a coat, and the little legs shuffling on. That is all repeat pattern, and that's how you can create movement. So this has inspired cartoons, and it's inspired us today. Okay guys, so another thing you can do, of course you can do all the research on Google and you can find all these characters that you can work from. You can print them out. If you've got a bit of tracing paper, you can trace them off and you can have a play with them. Then you can put colour into them, and you could create a whole scene. You could create a whole world. This guy could be sitting in the woods somewhere by a tree, or he could be in a city, could be sat on a bench. You could make up your own little bunch of cartoons with your own ideas. I've just noticed this one here, and this is Ricky Gervais, and this is Flanimals, and he invents all his own creatures in this book, and he gives them ridiculous names, and they all have a life history on what they do and their eating habits and where they like to live. And they've got all these names, look. Really, really crazy. And we've got Grundit, and we've got Pudlaflage, and it tells you all about their history. But look, he's created these off the top of his head, his ideas. So feel free to copy Snoopy, Tweety Pie, all these characters. On this SpongeBob, we'll talk about him in a little bit more, because I'm going to go from SpongeBob to up here. Now, I'm going to introduce you to the salt dough, and some of you will have worked with it before. I'll show you mine in a minute. We've got 500 grams of plain flour, 500 grams of salt, 250 millilitres of warm water. And I must admit, when I made mine last night, I needed a little bit more water than that. So you have to suck it and see. Just try it and see what works. Get it into a nice sort of consistency. And you know, this may take a while to do, but if you just scan over here, Meg, this is mine, and I've got it in a sealed container, and there's the salt dough there, and there's my little bit of flour. So yeah, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. So that will last for a couple of months. It's fantastic. Now, would you like to have a look at these characters that Meg and I have been working on? And here we looked at Tweety Pie for her, and this was SpongeBob SquarePants. And this was actually my one, which was, I've made it too heavy. It's actually sliding down the felt tip pen. That should be like that. So mine's cracking up a little bit. Now, if you do these, you can add all the little eyeballs and all the little bits. You can actually put a tiniest little bit of water on them. And I mean tiny. I put too much on mine. And you can stick these extra bits of dough on there. And look, you use a pencil to make a hole for the eyes, or you can add the eyeballs on with just rolling up a little ball and pushing it on. And this is good fun. I mean, you could spend weeks and weeks, and every time your mum or dad does some cooking in the oven, get permission and slide some of your little salt dough sculptures in there, your cartoon sculptures, and they will gradually set rock hard. And once they set rock hard, you can paint them, or you should try this. I mean, felt tip pens might work over the top of them. I've got my cheap tempera paints, as you know, that I love. And if you've got acrylic paints, they will come up even shinier. Once they're all rock hard, you can, if you wanted to, coat them with a thin layer of PVA glue and then leave them again for a couple of hours, and that's it. They'll be super shiny, rock hard, and they will literally last forever. So there's a lot for you to think about, guys. So cartoon capers, do some research on Google. Yes, we've linked it to art history because we've done Balla and Dog on a Leash, and this one up here is Carl O'Cara with the racehorse and the jockey and the legs moving. So you do a very simplified version, maybe doing the bear, a Care Bear, a character like that. Really simple. I've drawn that freehand like I've described, simple shapes, and then just building it up. I've gone round with a permanent marker at the end. So I've used paint. You could have just done this all in felt tip pen. You don't have to use paint at all. Or you could sort of look at the characters that we know and love. So this one there, this is the Gruffalo. This was one of Juliet Donaldson's books called The Gruffalo, and I think the illustrator's name is Axel Scheffler. And we actually looked at him in lockdown lessons back just in the summer term, just after the summer, when the first lockdown. So if you need to clarify some of this stuff, you can look at some of those old films that we made. So I haven't got anything else to say, guys, except just get exploring, having a bit of fun. Don't worry about making mistakes. I'd get making some salt dough if it were me. All the best. Take care. Till next week.